Good evening. I can't see. I don't. Hey, Dave. This is a test tonight, guys. I don't know who's watching. Um, New software. I'm not using what Daniel's using, so this is a new test. Not doing video tonight either. Hmm. This looks a little different on this side. Hey, everybody. Um, just got on here to test this out, see how it was working. Give everybody some time to get here. If anybody's coming, we'll see. Tonight I was talking to one of the girls earlier about art. I think Dave, you mentioned it. You looked up the statistics on the Rh negative blood. Um, about 13% of the whole global population has the Rh negative, which is a small percent for one blood type. Um, the majority of those people, the greater cluster of it, all live within this one smaller province called Basque Spain. It's like right on the Spain France line. I think it actually goes on both sides because they're French Basque and they're Spanish Basque. All of the people there look very similar to my dad. Um, I started how I come about this a few years ago is I started researching my dad's last name because my maiden name was Gask. If you pronounce it the same way as the country, it's spelled the same except for a G instead of a B, which is an unusual last name. I was there wasn't many of us in school. My dad didn't have a big family with that last name because his dad had died when he was young, so he didn't know a great deal of them. But in researching it, it kind of come across the point that some of my features, my dad's features, a lot of similarities when I start looking into this area and the region and the people and their people in history, their physical characteristics um, with my dad because I was like, them could be his brothers and sisters right there. Well, then I figured out about the Rh negative. I didn't even realize I was Rh negative until I don't know about 10 years ago. I'd heard it before, but I didn't know what it was. I don't know if it's been that long. I've had a lot of medical procedures. I totaled a car when I was 16, like to kill myself. Had about 5 or 6 surgeries from that car wreck. And then hey, Mike. Hey, Kim. I I think I ended up having, altogether, I've had about 30 surgeries. There's been a lot of them. And it's, in all of that time, I always knew I was O negative. Well, I didn't know what negative meant at that time, and I started looking into it and realized how small of the population that Rh negative is. Well, when I had my daughter, pregnancy went perfect, no problems. Knew when I got pregnant, knew when I was going to deliver. Labor lasted about 4 hours. Bang, bang, boom. Didn't even have any meds. Didn't know they were available, but I didn't have any meds. It was the 90s. Nobody explained all that stuff to us. But my second child had problems from the time I got pregnant. I ended up delivering. It was 29 weeks in the pregnancy. He weighed a little over 2 pounds and he was born, went down to right below 2 pounds. Stayed in neonatal from October to January before he could ever come home. From that point forward, it was like my whole system went haywire. Um, didn't know it at the time. Realized it later when my daughter had children about the Rogam shot. And I'm like, well, nobody ever give me one of them. And then I realized that if you are Rh negative and you get pregnant with a second child, there is a severely increased odd that your body will try to terminate that pregnancy before 29 weeks if you're not given the Rogam shot. That's why they give it. My son was delivered at 29 weeks. Nobody gave me the shot. I didn't know about it. Didn't know what it was. Didn't know it existed. Um, You may hear him in the background playing his Xbox. He's fine, folks. He is 30 years old and he eats like a 30-year-old. But anyway, he's had a long road, but he's playing an Xbox at the moment. But anyway, um, didn't know what RH negative was. Well, as some medical procedures happened, and had a few of those people that weren't real competent at their job in the medical field, I like to bled out on the table twice. One cut an artery, and there was an issue with having enough blood for me. Well, so then I got curious and I started trying to figure out why, and then I started running across how small it was for people to have RH negative. And when you realize the percentage of the populations by continent, when you look at the maps, it's kind of crazy. One of best I can figure out from some of the research I've done, one of the oldest, um, I guess you'd say, body tomb that had been exhumed over on that side of the world that was carbon dated as old as they say it was. Some of the first peoples um, was RH negative, and I don't know. It's just lots of puzzle pieces that put together. There are some weird things about people with RH negative blood. Most of us have hexachromia eyes, which are kind of wild looking. Um, most of them are greenish in color. Most of us have an extra vertebrae. We have a higher prevalence of autoimmune disorders. You cannot clone RH negative blood. Not saying you can't, but it's not easy. Um, Lower body temperatures. We have a higher occurrence of red hair. Some of us even note that we have a normally higher blood pressure or a normally lower blood pressure than everybody else has. Let's see. A constant sense of not belonging, like something, you've got something you've got to do. There's always a purpose. There's a greater purpose. I don't know how to explain that, but you know it. You feel it. You're supposed to wake people up. You're supposed to explain this to people. I don't know. That's the only thing I can explain the drive in it. And I've noticed from talking to a lot of other people, they feel it too. It's like this strong urge that you need others to hear the truth, to open their eyes, to look what's coming. Look at this. And I can't explain it. Um, I know most other RH negative people do, and I might be one of the first ones saying it out loud. I don't know. I see Trish in the comments saying, yeah, it's hard to explain. Yeah, it's a knowing, Trish. It's a knowing that there are so many more answers out there. And I try to tell people, always remember history was written by the winners. Um, you have been educated in a system by people who write the books, that own the companies, that fund the physician offices, um, that run the world. They were not looking to build thinkers out of the boxers. They were looking to build good laborers in their educational system. They wrote history. They were the winners. That's why we are where we are. Not to say the leaders that are in, I'm not talking about any particular leaders. I mean, as an overall story, left, right, whatever. The winner of whatever the battle is writes history. Yeah, and the more we talk about it, the more we 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 feel like people think we're crazy sometimes when we talk. And if you're listening, I feel sure you know that we don't get to have a lot of conversations with people because you don't feel like you can sometimes. Um, that's difficult, but just be honest. Be authentic. The highest frequency your body can generate is when you are authentic To be authentic means you ain't lying. I ain't lying for you, and I ain't lying to you. So, because if you don't lie or you don't hide anything, you don't have any apprehension in your body of, oh my goodness, somebody might find out. Hiding things and lying, it drops your frequency. When I mean, we've all seen, because there's only six of us here, so I know that's a close crew of people that completely understand. When you see sand or water and you see sound go through it, everything in this universe is vibrating at a frequency, a different rate of vibration, every molecule, every bit of energy. So the higher you vibrate, the happier you are, the more complete you can feel with being authentic. Um, the telepathy tapes, the non-verbal autistic children who go to this place called the Heal, they have conversations among themselves. They don't speak. They use iPads. If you haven't watched them, please go watch them. They're awesome. Um, there's a whole set of them. Watch them in order. And I think she's got a second season out. But you get a whole new conscious concept of what is out there and what is possible. That series opened my mind to realizing that those children are able to do what they do because they are authentic. They have no ego. They don't have anything to hide. They don't have anything to gain. So their authenticity, by being able to drop their ego, puts them closer to a greater state of consciousness than you will know on this earth. Um, it's amazing. And then you'll start figuring out that animals have it. We probably should have had it all along. Because if you think about someone who's blind, their hearing is better. If they're deaf, their vision may be better, their smell may be better. Your body has senses. If one sense is diminished, the others pick up because they tune in. Because if you think about yourself, you always need a situational awareness of a 10. If you lose your sight, you're back to a 9. Well, all of your other senses pick up just a little bit to bring you back to the 10, even though you're missing one. So think about the fact if speaking took our ability, our ego, and put it out there and cut us off from the telepathy. That's what I think. I think speech, because we hear about in the Bible, the Tower of Babel. You've heard things about Babel, Babylon. When you speak, if we all had, this is a theory, guys, this is just where I'm at. Um, if at some point we were all telepathic and there was no spoken word, if everybody could hear and tune in to what everybody else was thinking, not that it would be a void of privacy, but there would be nothing to lie about. You could be authentic at all times because everybody was all knowing. It wasn't about what you had or how you looked or any of that. It was just authentic, soul to soul. And when someone spoke, it created a lie, which meant there was something to hide. Because if we couldn't be telepathic, then you weren't being truthful. So at some point, spoken word comes in to share a secret or share a lie. And then you have spoken word. And the more we speak, the less we are connected. There are times in a lot of historical text and in the Bible. Hey, everybody. Hey, Trish. Just Josh. Thank you all for coming. Um, that they go into the desert for, so many days or so many nights. It was about solitude, it was about quiet. The world has become so noisy. It's never quiet anymore. You never just sit and hear the birds or the crickets or whatever's going on around you in nature because where I live at used to be rural. You used to be able to sit and listen to nature, but it's kind of hard to get anywhere in nature anymore. That somewhere off in the distance you can't hear a car or a train or a plane or something. We've kind of populated ourselves like that, that everybody wants to be together. There is no quiet anymore. And even if you go into your own home and you, hey, Joe, um, there's only so much quiet you get because there's normally a TV going or a radio going or a cell phone in your hand. I'm just as bad as anybody else. There's not a lot of quiet in life. So I think a part of opening this other side of us is quiet. You need to sit with yourself for a while. You need to be okay with yourself for everything that's ever happened. Forgive yourself, forgive others, and take accountability within yourself for any of that that you may have caused. And then you start losing that ego. But I think that only comes in quiet. Hey, Daniel, I see you. Um, and I think this is my theory, guys. I think that's part of the reason that meditation works so well. And in some religions, there are Buddhists, there are monks that never speak again. You ever thought about really why they don't speak again? Think about that. I just had that thought. There are these Buddhist monks that take this vow of silence for the rest of their life. If they don't speak again, and non speaking connects you to a greater consciousness, but you can't share it with. Think about that. Wow. Just had that thought. But I think silence is golden. Maybe that's what that means. Silence is golden because within silence, you've got to become resolute in yourself. Hmm. We started out on bloodlines. Sorry, guys. I get off track when I get on a theory. But we sit around, and I know a lot of you watch the Supernatural show. I'm on Daniel's show a good bit. Um, we talk about it all the time on the Supernatural show that there's so many things sitting right in front of our face that we don't even pay attention to. We have talked about all these flat top mountains that we think are tree stumps. A couple of years ago, I went to Mount Pilot, and we've talked about this quite a few times. And today, my phone popped up with one of those, time memories or whatever, and it was us at Mount Pilot, and we're standing right there at a barrier, and you can see this one big piece of it where we talk about this octagonal, almost like shredded celery is what I call it. One of the pieces of it is just jutted up, and I've got a picture of it, and I'm standing 5 foot away from it, and never realized it. But there's so many things that we think about that once you think about them on a broader prospect of what they could be, it's mind blowing sometimes. And you get sucked down a rabbit hole, way big rabbit holes, because lately, for some reason, and maybe this is the algorithm, or maybe it's because we've been talking about giant trees, you start seeing all of these rock formations that look like petrified giant people and animals. So is that just a coincidence? But are we able to trust the images we're seeing? Because there's so much out there now, half of it's fake. You don't know what to look at. I mean, you look at it and you're like, is that real? And I know we have a little group chat amongst some of us, and we'll send it in there, and it's like, did all of us all of a sudden go to working on it? Like, let's see if it, because it's like you've got to test the theory out to see if it's even real. And if you really got to, everything is suspect with this AI, and I think a lot of this AI, the Sasquatch thing, I think that is to push moral boundaries. Me and Willie had a conversation about this the other night that I think part of that Sasquatch thing is to push the moral boundary because even like the fake AI, they kind of look real, but you know by looking at it automatically that it's fake. It's just fake enough that it's okay to say that crude thing that you wouldn't say if it was real people. And I've seen a lot of these because there's like the grandmother and granddaughter, and she's talking trash to her. And there's some of the Sasquatch ones, but it's like they're pushing it really far with the morality level of some of this. And we know they've done that through all them, central casting. They push an agenda. So now can they use AI and say, hey, over in this area we want to push this, and it just starts generating stuff and putting it out to us? I mean, they can do that with music. They can do that with your music things that we subscribe to. If you're just listening to top 40 or whatever, they can push whatever they want to. They're in control of pushing the random button. So you have to be careful of what you're listening to. Hey, everybody. I see your thumbs up, Joe. Um, but we have to be careful at all times. It There is so much out there that is trying to distract you, that is trying to guide you in their direction. And it can be anything from, like I said, the AI, it's funny. It's a little cringy when they tell the joke, but you're like, and you kind of let it go. Well, the next time you hear somebody say a joke of that crudity or that level, it's not as shocking to you because you've already been tolerant of it. Your brain works that way. What you were tolerant of today will just be the minimum tomorrow. If children grow up seeing a, a level 5 on morality of their parents, that's their, that's their minimum when they grow up. If you want your children to grow up and behave better than you do, you got to show them how to behave like that. It's not, yeah, you got to show them. Try to. Not saying I'm a perfect parent by any reason, because I've made a lot of boo boos, but we have to teach the next generation what the acceptable morality level is, because it seems to slide further and further every day. That's what concerns me. We've noticed that with a lot of central casting. Um, there are agendas pushed. We have to remember that this is what the next generation is watching 16 hours a day. And I don't know, we just got to be careful with it, because I see this AI pushing that so much further. I've heard some of the crudest jokes in my life just scrolling through a Facebook reel, because I'm off TikTok at the moment. I'm banned. I've got some other email addresses loaded up, but they're just going to ban me again. But we'll try real hard. We were at over 100,000 last time, and 71 seconds after I posted um, Oshmama's Smurfs, record, it went done. I was looking at Ingersoll Lockwood this morning, because y'all know I keep up on that. If you watch me, I watch it. Even if nothing else, it's a good reference, because you learn a lot of places on there that I'm like, didn't know that existed. It'll be government agencies where you can go look stuff up. There'll be links on there. I didn't even know. I mean, trust me, I know a lot of agencies that you can go for your Freedom of Information Act stuff. And some of these, I'm like, looky there. Didn't know that was there. I think today's is, yeah, let's see. Let me see if it'll let me present my screen. Share screen, entire screen. Here we go. All right. It changed a couple of days ago. It was the weekend. I think it was like the chemical symbol for thorium. Well, today it says MAHA, which is Make America Healthy Again. Um, uh, this takes us to this. I don't know if y'all have seen this, but there's been a whole lot of talk about this. Is it, yes or no checked on your license lately? I haven't dug into it. I have heard some horror stories about it, that's for sure. But yeah, that stuff right there, that is not good stuff at all. Unfortunately, I've had a good dose of that through chemo. It's not good stuff. No, no. This I actually looked up that you can see down here at the bottom, the NEA Handbook 2025. The link is gone, doesn't go anywhere. So when I looked it up, it has been removed. Let's see. This is the National Educators Association.org. It was released, but it became a lightning rod for controversy. Um, it mysteriously vanished from the website. New business items, which was to describe the Holocaust as having more than 12 million victims from different faiths, ethnicity, races, political beliefs, gender identification, abilities, disabilities, and other targeted characteristics without explicitly mentioning juice box. Wow. And they pulled it. Imagine that. Hmm. Unique. The winners write history. Just remember that. Okay. I'm let's look at the comments a minute. Hey Laura. Okay, I'm trying to catch up with comments and read. I see everybody out there. Okay. Hey everybody. Let's see if anything else changed. I've not checked their Twitter. They link to interesting stories sometimes on Twitter, and I've seen a couple of things linked on here. It wasn't anything new, but it was things that had happened in the past that just kind of seemed to get glazed over. It was like they were bringing it back to the forefront. Uh, oh, oh, Paul Harvey, If I Were the Devil. That is posted 1 hour ago. Um, there's a link that takes you to their reading library and one that says Laconics of Cult, not as an attack on Jesus, but as a radical change to examine whether our faith is genuine or merely performative. It exposes the danger of ego, illusion, and blind tradition, echoing the Bible call to worship in spirit. Okay. Rare and toxic liquid mercury found up under a pyramid. This is one of the stories. It was evidently a few years old, but much like those over in Egypt where they've been doing the scans, finding stuff, this one has a lake of mercury up under it. And then they had the Bible verses. I think that was the last time we all looked at it together. I don't know. Has everybody heard the Paul Harvey? I'm not going to play it. If you haven't, I would suggest you go listen to it. Um, I don't know. Hey, Miss Carol, I don't know what generations I've got in here, but most of us know about Paul Harvey. I think most of you have heard If I Were the Devil. I don't think there were a whole lot truer words said. The yeah, I'm gonna leave that one right there. I have to keep remembering. I got the filter, so yeah, there's a reading library on that website. And like I said, anymore you don't know what's propaganda, what's not propaganda. So you have to discern and research everything. Um, just because you see it, don't believe, monkey see, monkey do, monkey hear. Don't believe nothing of what you hear. And don't believe it about 10% of what you see. And I remember when I was a kid, my daddy telling me that, and he says, don't believe but half of what you see. He said, because there be people acting, lying, And I would say that's down to about 10% and probably decreasing on the regular. I must have a frog in the house. I hear a frog in my headphones. But be very discernible. Mike says he remembers Paul Harvey. Yeah, Paul Harvey's pretty cool. He was before my generation, but I like to listen to Paul Harvey. He's very, one of the things about him, he just, I don't know, it's plain. You guys know I tend to be a little unfiltered sometimes. I'm just not gonna lie. Like I said, I'm not lying to anybody, for anybody, to anybody. Let's see. That's the Trump thing. That hasn't changed. That hasn't changed. I've looked at these links so many times now, I can kind of mouse over them and look at the links. I have had everything on here take me everywhere from Antarctica to a UFO museum in Germany. I mean, like, some stuff is just crazy that it's taking me to on here. There's usually multiples, but you never know which one's going to change. This one takes you to research the credit union. And if you look on that, it was a national debt calculator, I think we looked at on the show. National debt clock, that's what it is. I've probably got all this bookmarked, but my mind is the new money revolution. Free book. See, used to you had to open the secret window to get that. Okay. It opened automatically. So it's still there. Yeah. I've downloaded it and read it. It says somewhere in this document that they want to set up a credit union. Where is it at? It's still loading. It's slower than I am. Come on, you can do it, little computer. I saw credit union in here somewhere. The way they're telling it they want, I don't know if they want to do it or they're gonna do it at this point. I don't think we got a whole lot of option in it. Let's see. So we're talking about what they're gonna do. I've seen it in here. It's like the U.S. Reserve Credit. Citizens free to create boundless wealth and prosperity. It's in here, guys. There's somewhere in here where it talks about the new bank they want to set up. It would basically be a credit union. I don't know. They've got a thing in here about researching credit unions. I have to dig into that one more. I know I saw credit union in this somewhere. I don't know. It's in there. I'll figure it out. There's something to do with that credit union. There's a reason it's there. They're pointing you towards something. Um, but yeah, it's it's hard sometimes to tell what's real and what's fake, and what is fake that we can tell is fake. It's still allowing the push of the moral boundary of what. Hey Shannon, I see you. It pushes our moral boundary of what is acceptable for us, what is acceptable for our children, our grandchildren. Because I remember growing up. Now, my daddy weren't no saint. My daddy was a mechanic and he painted houses and we had race cars and he had friends and there was a lot of good Friday nights that my daddy and his buddies had in his shop. my daddy, for all of that, he was not going to watch a movie in that house anywhere when I was younger, him or my mama, where the F word would have been dropped or where there was inappropriate things on the TV. Like even soap operas was pushing the limit back then. And it's got any more that, primetime TV, their butts hanging out. You can tell what they're doing or at least what they're pretending to do. There is no, yeah, the moral boundary's been pushed really hard. And all it does is program you to keep letting it slide and keep letting it slide. Yeah, the rest of the story. Um, so just be aware. Be aware if you got grandkids, what video games they're playing. Don't just let them go zone out on that thing because the longer they're on it, it's literally screwing up the dopamine and serotonin in their brain because this is part of where the ADD epidemic is coming from, I do believe. The more you get, your brain gets stimulated when something new occurs. When your brain's not stimulated, you're bored. You got nothing to do. It's too hot to go outside. Your brain's not stimulated. So you zone out on that phone. Well, every time something new happens or you laugh when you see a video, when we were kids, there was no TikTok or Reels. You watch cartoons from beginning to end. You got 15 to 30 minutes. Well, when my kids come up, they would watch Sesame Street, and they normally got about 20 to 30 minutes if they were watching something like that. The next generation, by the time my kids were teenagers, they were on to like 3 minute videos, 5 minute videos, and now it's got down to 20 seconds. If you're watching a TikTok and something doesn't happen before too long, you just scroll on. You don't care about the ending anymore. You didn't get your dopamine hit off of it. That is the exact same way most of the things that they outlaw drug wise do. It's a dopamine, serotonin chemical trigger in your brain. When you do whatever you're doing, whether it's scrolling TikTok or, other bad habits, it's a dopamine feed. The more you get, the more you want, the quicker you want it. That's the way all addictions go. And I've noticed that a lot of these, 10, 12, 14-year-olds, they're walking around. They don't even have conversations anymore. They don't want to have a conversation on the cell phone. You can't call them because, like, if you call them and they answer, and you're trying to say, like, "Hey, how about go out to the garage and get this and bring it back in?" Okay, okay, okay. They're trying to get off the phone as absolutely fast as possible. So you're better off to just text them a list. It's like their verbal communication skill is just destroyed. They need to type it. They don't want to talk about it. Yeah, things have changed. And so they spend a lot of time on these phones and on electronics. And the more you watch it, the more it knows you, the more it aggresses to your habit. And it just, yeah, they're conditioning you. So I know these kids are not generation. I don't even know what the kids are this generation. They don't go outdoors. Maybe we should call them the indoor children. Yeah, the indoor children. That's what this generation will be called. But they don't go outside. You got to force them to go outside. Like, go ride your bicycle. And I'm like, oh no, because they're scared to death. They're gonna miss a couple of minutes on that tablet. I've seen a lot of children. If you take that tablet from them, they'll melt down. That is the same way drug addicts do when you take their drug of choice from them. They melt down. If we don't start breaking these electronics out of our hands and our children's hands, we just gonna be we gonna be doing that. You know, just sitting in the corner, just babbling, Babylon. Okay, guys, I'm gonna let y'all go. I think I've babbled on and on about that, but just be discernible about what you're watching. These videos aren't as cute as they think they are. Um, it's concerning. That's something that that come to me today. Let's see. Mike said when I was a kid, yeah, Bugs Bunny on Saturday morning. Oh my gosh. I saw a thing the other day and it explained, that place that has the two characters with the round ears, that the him and the her were representative of a brother and a sister. Uh, Imagine where that goes. That was a mm, unique one because I don't know. I saw a comment that somebody made on Dave's show earlier that about one of the substances from blood, the adreno that we were talking about, that you could, after an EpiPen expired, that's what it turned into. I got to know this now. So if anybody out there's got any more expertise on that than me, other than what I can research, do tell, because I want to know. Yeah, it said that, and the guy's username was Doctor something, and we were talking about it, or Dave was talking about it, and I saw the guy in the comments say that that's what an expired EpiPen would turn into because it is oxidized adrenaline is what it is. And there are actually quite a few plants and labs out there that make that, by the way. But evidently, it's so hard to make on a large scale that it's just not profitable. Well, I mean, I know people are taking it because I've seen it because I researched it and it's $12,000 a dose. That was for the average, and this was all about Alzheimer's and dementia long before I knew what it was. We were looking for anything, you know, what is out there. If if you want to know something about the world, this is how we stumbled across this. The theory was when we went looking for cures to memory loss for uh, my family members, other family, money was not an option. Not that, yeah, 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 yeah. I saw that, Mike. Dr. E. Vales. He's the one that said it. And it's true. I went and looked it up, the chemical content. But anyway, I got to dig in. Where was I at? Oh, God, Mike, you got me sidetracked. But, yeah, we searched for cures or solutions that, price wasn't an option. What are billionaires getting, for their family? What are, billionaires getting for this treatment or that treatment? If money's not an option, what are they using? Well, then that'll lead you into the direction of the technology of what they're using. And I know we all saw what 10, 12, 15 years ago, you were seeing these super famous athletes that had all of these med beds in their houses um for health purposes. But it was just because they were athletes. They wouldn't help normal people. And now you're starting to see these med beds pop up everywhere where it's just frequency and light. Yeah, they're switching everything that's good is evil and evil is good. They've told you that you need to go outside and wear sunglasses. You are not supposed to wear sunglasses. Your eyes are a sense. Not only are they your sense of sight, they are a measuring tool. Your hair is a measuring tool. Your skin is a measuring tool. It is measuring the chemicals and the inputs to your body. People go to the beach and wear sunglasses and get fried and there get so much more sunburn because when you have the sunglasses on, you're blocking particular rays of sunlight into your eye. Well, if your eye is not picking up the correct quantity of what you're taking in, it does not know how to adjust your body chemistry to compensate for a skin burn. So, if everything in your body works like that, imagine what washing your hair does with a bunch of chemicals. I'm not trying to go full, like, you know, I need to leave the stuff of the world alone. But when I realized that, like, all the pores on your scalp and the chemicals and what's coming through the water and the shampoo and the conditioner, you're like, oh my God, I'm taking in all of those chemicals. And then your body has to adjust to those chemicals, and it causes your body to just kind of go haywire. Um, it's like chemicals in perfume or deodorant or soap. But I keep trying to tell people you got to be so careful and you got to be thoughtful. I think that's one of our problems as a species, a race, whatever, as humans. Um, we're not thoughtful anymore. We're all just in a hurry, making noise, watching phones, and just give me the quickest, easiest solution there is out there so I can go on and do something else because I need another dopamine hit. That's how they programmed us. And they've turned us all into a bunch of little worker bees that just need to be quiet and pay our taxes and go on about our way. Um, the winners wrote history. The the enemy you've been told is your enemy may not be your enemy. But the best way to keep two allies apart is to convince them that they are enemies. When you, if there's a friend group of three, somebody's always in the middle. And A's always trying to play C against B back and forth so they can be the best friend. So if it doesn't matter whether it's race, religion, whatever, just because they're your enemy, are you my enemy or the enemy of my enemy? You have to think about everything from a different perspective. If you want to see the answer, go back and listen to how the other person answered. Because lately I've been trying to go and instead of proving my theory, I try to go disprove my theory. I was explaining that to Daniel the other day. We were talking. And I said I can't disprove it. Um, can you help me disprove it? And that's one of the ways we like to try to approach things. Uh, yeah, you shouldn't wear sunglasses during the day at the beach. You should get a sunshade, to go over your head or something, but don't filter your eyesight because it needs to know how much sunlight your skin's taking in. Um, it'll, and I did find a little trick last summer. If you take 200 milligrams of Motrin before you go out into the sun, you're way less likely to sunburn. It turns off, I can't remember what it is. I think it's RGB or something within your blood. It turns off and no burn. We went on a river rafting trip. Two of us took Motrin, one of us did not. We had a tan. That person looked like rotisserie chicken. It was rough. It was not me. But yeah. All right, guys. Well, I just want to remind everybody, be discernible. Pay attention to what you're watching. If your if your feed of what you're watching seems to start turning crude or just nasty or just you can reset it. Um, there's ways to reset your algorithm on everything. I see that, Laura. Sorry. Yeah, try not to wear them any more than you absolutely have to. There's a certain amount of sunlight that is actually good for you. That's what we were saying. What is good is evil. What is evil is good. Um, the sunlight is good for you. It's good for your eyes. It's good for your overall health. You shouldn't be out in it looking up at it all day long. But with intolerances, I think the thing says that we all need 10 minutes of sunlight a day. I feel better when I get some sunlight because I'm inside a lot of times because I never leave home. I work from home. So, but yeah. Okay, everybody, go hug a tree. Go get grounded. Get you some sunlight tomorrow. I hope the weather's good where you're at. The temperature here is supposed to start dropping, so hopefully we can get some outdoor time around here. Thank you all for coming. Um, this was awesome. Thank you to everybody, my crew, my usuals. Thank you guys. Good night.